Stanley. Hey, congratulations on your documentary, Pitch People.
Thank you. You guys are like a gamer group, right?
We do many different things, but
Yeah.
we do all kinds of interviews from across all kinds of genres. A lot of our news writers love those gaming stuff, but yes, absolutely.
Well, that's good. Yeah, well, I mean, that's great. I'm glad you had an interest in taking a look at it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, this documentary is very fascinating, and I understand you started and finished this documentary what 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was shot over a 3-year period back then, 97 till through 99. And I worked with a lot of the people that were doing the type of pitching that, was kind of unusual advertising. So I thought it was interesting. I thought there was a real cadence to their delivery, and I thought it was very cinematic the way they did things with their hands and their verbiage. So I thought, well, no one's really documented these people, so I just started doing that, and then the film emerged from all the footage that I gathered over 3 years.
Wow. So what actually sparked you to basically start filming them, especially these people that you actually met?
But because I had access to them because of I was involved in some of the productions, so they were very friendly to me, and they were open to me documenting what's going on with their lives, and a few of them went way back, so they had interesting pasts, and I discovered that there was a lot of family linkage between different famous people that pitch products that wound up on TV, and that I didn't know going into it. I just thought, okay, these are interesting people. So that's some of the information that came out when I got the footage and went through it. But I was just always fascinated by them. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember on a Saturday morning, on a black and white TV, I remember I saw a commercial, and it was a short commercial that was for I think it was called the Salad Master, which was a pot and pan set. And the thing, even as a kid, I must have been probably no more than 6 years old. The thing that turned my head to the TV was the guy took the pan and smashed it on a counter and showed that it wouldn't dent and made such a noise. And what is this nut doing? From that point, I thought it was a really interesting way of advertising because, your typical advertisement, whether it's for a car or a soft drink, would never do something like that. So I guess that kind of planted that seed in my brain. And then, years later, after I got out of film school, I wound up working with them. And I've always been fascinated with filmmaking, since I was a kid. So I just thought they'd be a good subject matter for it, and it was worth documenting it.
Yeah, these pitch people, they have their personality, there's quirks and especially their charisma that could manage to convince a lot of us.
That's correct. I mean, that's an important element, and that's why going back, you hear that term snake oil salesman. These were people that had charisma, and in those old times, they would sell a potion or whatever, and they would claim it would do certain things, and maybe it really didn't do it. But the people I worked with, there were a lot of rules and a lot of things you couldn't do because a lot of it was television advertising. It was really scrutinized by the FTC and the FCC, so you couldn't, if you represented a bogus product, you could get in trouble. Now, some slipped through. There were some people that pitched like real estate schemes and stuff like that, and maybe skincare products that they overpromised what it could do, and they got in trouble with the FTC. But the people I worked with weren't part of that. They pretty much represented products they believed in, and that helps because when they pitch a product, they really think it does what it does. It shows that the authenticity of their pitch comes through.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually very pleased that you distinguished these modern pitch people rather than as scam artists per se. That especially scams are like all over the place, left and right now these days.
You're absolutely right. You can, if you open up a store on any of the social media platforms like Facebook or TikTok, you can put a product on there and make any claim you want. No one will shut you down. And you can wind up taking, hundreds of thousands of dollars from consumers before, the word spreads out that this stuff is crap and it doesn't really do what it do. And when on television, you can't do that. I mean, they've got every station that airs a commercial, whether it's a cable station or a broadcast station, they have standards that they have to be met by, and they won't allow it on if you make outrageous claims or whatever. So you're right, you're really right. The internet is like the Wild West right now, and it's still going on. There are really no rules in place. And I don't know if there ever will be the way things are going. So, buyer beware.
Now, for a film that was, for the project that was done over 25 years ago and now being released today for today's audiences, did you consider about like adding new footage of how pitch people evolved today?
Well, because it was a restoration, I didn't want to violate, the original film. So I kind of went under those rules. There's an organization, FIAF, they're based in Belgium, and they're a really powerful group worldwide. And they go around restoring films, and they preserve them as well. So I didn't I read a lot of there's a lot of essays that the organization produces. They have scholars that have uncovered film, and they talk about techniques of preserving it. So the sense I got from them was you want to keep it as it was. It's a sort of a time capsule. Now, if I ever thought there was an audience to make a sequel, that would be a perfect thing to do. But I wanted to keep it as it was, so that's why we did it. We kept it that way.
And not to mention, you interviewed a lot of pitch people back during the late 1990s, and even brought old memories of Ed McMahon that I remember watching him when I was a whole lot younger myself.
Yeah, he was a very skilled pitch guy. That's how he started. Like we mentioned in the film, his dad in the Atlantic City Boardwalk, his dad ran a bingo um, parlor, and then when Ed was working for his dad, he would see these pitch guys off and some of the other booths pitching products, and he was fascinated by that, so he learned from them how to do it. And he was just a great natural speaker and a natural presenter. I mean, his skills, he had natural born talent. I think someone like Nancy Nelson in the film, she also has a natural born talent. So they applied it to that because he made enough money to get himself through school, and he supported his wife and his kid. And then he was discovered for television. He moved on with his career. So yeah, it's I did interview a lot of them, because even the ones that weren't famous, I interviewed because I wanted to really present the reality of what that business is. The majority of pitch people you've never really heard of, but they made a living pitching products at fairs or whatever. And so I wanted to kind of pay homage to the whole group of them. And it wasn't that I wanted it to be a flattering piece, because I went with it. I approached it with very open eyes that if something controversial comes out, we're going to examine it. But that didn't happen. It was pretty straightforward. The people I interviewed, and they all were pretty much above the board.
For all those years, have you kept in contact with many of these pitch people, to see, just for fun, what are a lot of them doing now? I'm assuming a lot of them are retired now.
Yeah, some have passed on, and then some are retired, but some are still working. Joe Fowler, who was one of the younger guys in the film, he still works on QVC, and he's I think in another week or so he's doing a hardware show in Las Vegas that he'll be doing presenting for that, and then Jan. Sorry. Okay.
So someone else is on.
Oh, no problem.
Oh,
Lee,
sorry.
Lee, you need to turn off your microphone. Go ahead.
So and Jan Muller, he still pitches on QVC. He'll be on there with a product, a kitchen product usually. And Nancy, she's doing dinner theater in the Minneapolis area, so she doesn't really pitch products anymore. But I think there's still pitching going on, but it's nothing like it was in the late 90s and into the mid 2000s. Probably it started tapering off around 2015. Because what happened with TV pitching, which is where it became very popular, because at that time, before the internet, television hit millions of people, and it became a worldwide thing via television. These shows were airing in countries all around the world: Mexico, Sweden, the Europe, in Asia, and when the internet took over and selling would start happening there, the eyes were now taken from the TV and brought to the phones and the computers. Now there are still infomercials on TV, but it's nothing like it was before. when an entrepreneur had a new product and they wanted to launch it via an infomercial, it was kind of a neat thing to do because you develop your product and say you create an inventory, maybe several thousand units, and you had a story about it. You could create an infomercial about it and show how it worked and the benefits of it, put it on TV and test it. So if you put it on the air and the airtime costs you X amount of dollars, if you were able to sell enough product to cover the airtime and make a profit with including your product costs and everything, it was a start of a business. And a lot of entrepreneurs started businesses that way. And it became a really neat thing and TV was the main reason because it hit so many people, reached so many people.
What do you think of the evolution that things have happened today? Like TV's still important. Like for example, I one of my favorite shows is Shark Tank, and like you mentioned in your documentary, it's about entertainment. I find it entertainment and entertaining, and sometimes I'm going, gosh, I wish I had that product right now.
Yeah, I mean that Shark Tank's a great example. It kind of metamorphosized into an entrepreneurial type of television show. And actually, one of the important businessmen in the infomercial business, Kevin Harrington, he was one of the original hosts of Shark Tank. He's not on there anymore, but he started a company called Quantum Marketing outside of Philadelphia, and he had a lot of successful products on it. And Arnold Morris, who's in the film. He worked for him, and Lester did some consulting work with him, and Garrett Best was in the film he did. So it was kind of like a center of a lot of pitch people that took their products onto TV. And Kevin was he is a very smart business person, and he had some good success with them. So it was great back then, and now it's kind of different because, like you said, a show like Shark Tank is a more there's an entertainment aspect, and I think that's what keeps people tuned in. But I wonder how many of the products that you've seen over the many years of Shark Tank are in stores, because those infomercial products, they had a whole section in retail as seen on TV.
Yeah.
I don't see an as seen on Shark Tank section. So it's entertainment, but are they really successful products? That's my question.
Yeah, that is a good question. And especially, like younger generations, rather than watching TV, they're all fixated on social media. And now I find like the pitches have evolved onto things like 30, 1 minute demonstrations on TikTok, for example.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I see a lot of kitchen products demonstrated that way. And I think a lot of that has to do with the person that's presenting it. If it's a major influencer and they have people believe them, they're probably going to move some units. And the hope is that if they do endorse a product and they use it and they put it on TikTok or on Instagram or Facebook, that the thing really does what they say it does, because there'll be a backlash down the road. So I'm assuming they check out the product and it's good. But you're right. A lot of even major brands are hiring the influencers to present their product and say, "Hey, I like this product. Why don't you check it out?" Now, I don't know if haven't seen the numbers and if it's really the sell through is happening. But if you're seeing it done a lot, but by the same company, it must be working.
Wow, we're in the new century, and pitch people have now to call themselves influencers. The times have certainly changed, that's for certain.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's what you said earlier is true. You have the ingredients and the charisma, an interesting product, and a person that can really present things, then it's the common thread right through all these permutations, whether it's in the fairs and the boardwalk and the television and now onto social media. It's pretty much the same initial fabric that weaves the entire process.
Yeah, and I do have to admit, the traditional pitch people, like in your documentary, still exist today. I still go to county fairs and I still see them doing, demonstrations at a little corner here and there and doing the same spiel, better buy this now as the first 10 people. They still have that.
That's correct. And there's a couple, like you'll see a couple of knife pitch people in the film, and I purposely you hear the same pitch over a couple of times, and I didn't do the entire pitch, but I wanted to show that it's the same pitch, but someone else is doing it, and hear the flavor of what it takes when they do it. So you get an idea that there's different approaches to it, and you can judge for yourself which one's more successful. But you're right, they're still doing it. A lot of people make a living doing that. And I remember when the film played at the Mill Valley Film Festival back in 2000, there was a lady in the audience after the Q&A afterwards, and she was a person that worked at the fairs, and she said, you know, that finally, because usually people make fun of pitching. It's always been a mocked thing. She said finally someone really showed what it's like, and she was happy that a film came out like that, and that was kind of neat to hear because that's what you want to do with a documentary. You really want to present the truth. You're cutting and pasting reality basically in a documentary, and so that was nice to hear that. And you're absolutely right. It's still going on.
Absolutely. So Stanley, are you still a filmmaker today? Are you still making, films yourself today?
I made about 7 years ago. I made an independent film, and I'm going to probably do another one after I'm done getting this out there because it's just something I've done since I was in my teens, and it's not like I dreamed of doing it. It's just that I was just naturally drawn to it. My parents had an old Bell and Howell 8mm camera. Because my mom used to shoot videos of, videos, films of like a birthday or whatever, and watching TV, watching Star Trek or whatever, I was inspired that, hey, why don't we try to do something? Well, so with a bunch of friends, you made short films, and the problem there, because the film was expensive, you have the allowance of a paper route or whatever, you don't have a lot of money, so you had to buy the film, you shoot it. The roll was only like 2.5 minutes long. You got to send it out for processing. It comes back a week later. Then you got to look at it, and then if you have a little bit of an editing system, you tape the shots together. And but it was, I think probably films and of course television was a big influence, because when I saw my first film, I said, God, I'm just fascinated by that. It's something I'd like to do. So I've always done it, and I'm probably going to continue doing it.
Well said. Well said. Well, Stanley, as people have a chance to watch your documentary Pitch People, what is the one most important take that you hope they walk away with after viewing your film?
It would be nice if they saw they had an inside look at an industry that they really didn't pay attention to before, and they saw, oh, that was pretty fascinating. I didn't realize that these people did all these things, and that's where it came from, and this is what it was made of. So if they come out more enlightened about it, and they don't think as negatively to the so-called snake oil salesman, then I think it's a good thing. The film did a good thing.
Well, you've done a terrific thing. Thank you for bringing this documentary to the light. Better late than never, as they say. And even watching the film, sometimes because the picture is so clear, you can't even tell it was made back then. So
That was one of the joys of doing it. It was a whole learning process restoring the film. There was a whole thing where the inner positive that we reached, the 35mm inner positive we originally made, became damaged with time. We didn't know it. So we did tests. We turned out that if we went to the original Super 16 and scanned them at 5K, the resolution was amazing. And then the range of color you could pull out of it was great. So we went back to the source and redid it. That's why it looks like it was shot yesterday. And that was a joy to do all that process. And it showed that even a film shot on Super 16 can look tremendous, because it's in theaters now, and you can see it on a big screen. It holds up. So maybe would encourage other people to restore some important films that are on 16mm. But anyway, I appreciate that you took the time to look at it.
no, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Everyone should check this out because it's still relevant today. So thank you very much for presenting Pitch People.
Great, thank you. Okay, I really liked your questions. It's fantastic.
Hey, I've done a lot, so I'm the other type of pitch person. I'm pitching your product. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we do this again. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.